What are you doing right now? Are you driving home after a long day, maybe stuck in traffic with your thoughts running wild? Or are you at work headphones and trying to escape the noise around you? Maybe you're lying in bed, lights off, just looking for something to calm your heart before sleep. Wherever you are, I want you to imagine this. What if one single night, one unexpected choice, could flip your entire world upside down? What if the thing you've been hiding, the gift you thought nobody saw, suddenly became the reason the whole room couldn't look away? Because I'm going to tell you a story about hunger, pride legacy, and the kind of music that can silence even the cruelest laughter. A story with twists so sharp, it'll make you lean in closer. So settle in, this isn't just background noise. This is a journey. And I promise you, once it starts, you won't want to stop listening. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Picture the most elegant, exclusive gala you can imagine. The kind of place where the air smells of money, success, and expensive perfume. Where every smile is a business transaction and every word is a performance. Now imagine a ghost walking through that room. Not a sheet-wearing ghost, but a real one. A person so out of place, so invisible, that they may as well be see-through. A 14-year-old girl with a worn-out backpack and clothes that whisper of a life spent in the shadows. Her name is Maya. And on this particular night in the heart of Atlanta, Maya isn't here to be seen. She's here for one thing and one thing only, to fill a gnawing, aching emptiness in her stomach. An emptiness that has followed her for days. She had heard about this event, the Arts for All Charity Gala, and the cruel irony of it wasn't lost on her. Here they were raising money to help people like her, all while treating her like a trespasser. She knew it was a long shot, but she had to try. She walked up to the grand ballroom, her heart thumping like a drum against her ribs. And then she saw it. A magnificent Steinway grand piano gleaming under a crystal chandelier. It wasn't just an instrument, it was a memory. A whisper of her grandmother's love. A promise of a life that once was. That's when she saw her, the queen of the room, the event's chairwoman, a woman with a voice as sharp as her diamond earrings and eyes that saw Maya not as a person, but as a smudge on her polished world. Sweetheart. She said, that smile not reaching her eyes. How did you get in here? This is a private event. I can play, Maya whispered, clutching her backpack. Can I play for a meal? The room went silent. The laughter was 100 tiny needles pricking at Maya's skin. A mistake we all make is thinking we know a person's story by the clothes they wear or the neighborhood they're from. These people saw a hungry, homeless kid. They never saw the prodigy. They never saw the pain. They never saw the raw, beautiful soul that was about to pour out of her fingertips and change everything they thought they knew. This isn't just a story about a girl who plays a piano. This is a story about the unseen, the unheard, and the unbelievable. It's a story about a test of fire, a hidden legacy, and a plot twist that no one, especially not Charlotte Vance, ever saw coming. It was a cold, unforgiving night in Atlanta, but inside the Gilded Lily, the air was thick with the clinking of champagne glasses and the low hum of self-congratulatory chatter. A charity gala for Arts for All, they called it, a celebration of opulence wrapped in the shiny paper of philanthropy. But for one 14-year-old girl, it was just a door she had to get past. Maya Jenkins stood at the grand entrance, a ghost in her own city. The scent of roasted duck and truffle oil hit her like a punch, a cruel reminder of the hunger that had gnawed at her for days. Her hand gripped a worn backpack, a makeshift fortress against the stares of a world that had forgotten her. Inside, a Steinway grand piano gleamed beneath a crystal chandelier, a silent beacon of a life she'd once known. You see, the truth about being hungry isn't just about an empty stomach. It's about a hollowness that echoes in your soul, a shame that tries to tell you you don't belong anywhere, not in a grand hall, not even in your own skin. And the cruelest part, The people in here with their tailored suits and dazzling dresses were raising money for children just like her. The irony was a bitter taste in her mouth. She had to try. She had to ask. A woman with a voice as sharp as her diamond necklace glided over. This was Charlotte Vance, the event's chairwoman. She was the kind of woman who saw the world in dollar signs and who saw people like Maya as broken things to be fixed from a safe distance. Charlotte smiled, but it never reached her eyes. "Darling," she said, her voice dripping with a condescending sweetness that felt like a slap. "How did you get in here?" "This is a private event, ma'am," Maya said, her voice barely a whisper, a tremor of fear in every syllable. I heard about the gala. For the arts. I was wondering if I could play for a meal?" A ripple of hushed laughter spread through the crowd. Play for a meal, the audacity. They weren't laughing at her request. They were laughing at the very idea that a girl who looked like her could have a talent worthy of their attention. Charlotte's smile tightened. "Sweetheart, this is a gala, not a street corner. Our entertainment is a little more refined. That's a mistake we all make, isn't it? We confuse refinement with authenticity. We mistake a price tag for true value." Charlotte saw a homeless girl. She saw a problem to be shooed away. She didn't see the years of dedication, the calloused fingertips, the legacy of a grandmother who poured her soul into every note she taught her. "But I can play, ma'am," Maya insisted, a spark of defiance igniting in her eyes. I know the classics." Charlotte let out a small, derisive laugh. "Oh, really? The classics. Well, how about this then? You want to play to food? You want to play a classic? Let's see what you've got." She gestured toward the magnificent piano, a cruel smirk on her face. The silence in the hall was deafening. The crowd's judgmental eyes were 100 spotlights on Maya. This wasn't a performance. It was a public humiliation. A test. And Charlotte was sure Maya would fail. She was about to learn a lesson she never saw coming. And that's when Maya walked to the piano, ready to prove that the music inside her wasn't just a simple ditty. It was a story, a legacy, and it was about to change everything. The silence was a living thing, heavy and unforgiving. Every eye in that grand hall was a pinprick, a judgment. Maya stood by the piano, her heart a frantic hummingbird trapped in a cage. Charlotte's cruel smile was a challenge. "You asked for this. Now let's see you fail." This wasn't just about a meal. It was about dignity, about proving that the circumstances of her life had not stripped her of her worth. She closed her eyes, and for a moment the opulent room melted away. The cold stares, the hushed whispers, they all faded into a gentle background noise. She was no longer in the Gilded Lily. She was back in a tiny apartment with her grandmother Sarah at the old chipped piano. A memory warm and real rushed through her. Sarah's hands elegant and strong, guiding her own. Maya, her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind, a soft melody of wisdom. "The music isn't in the keys. It's in you. Let it out." Maya took a deep breath, and her fingers found the keys. They didn't feel like ivory anymore. They felt like home. She began to play Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2. The first notes were hesitant, a tentative question. But as the melody unfolded, something shifted. The music wasn't just a performance. It was a testament. It was the sound of cold nights in shelters of quiet tears, of a hunger so deep it became a part of her soul. It was the sound of a legacy of a dream handed down from a grandmother who was silenced by a world that refused to see her genius. The crowd stood stunned. The low murmurs died out completely. Charlotte's triumphant smirk dissolved into disbelief. They saw a girl in simple clothes, but they heard a symphony of pain, resilience, and unyielding hope. And then a new figure stepped forward. It was Dr. Harrison Reed, a man whose name was whispered with reverence in musical circles. He didn't look at Maya's clothes or her backpack. He looked at her hands. He looked at her soul. His eyes were wide with recognition not just of her talent, but of the very spirit of her grandmother in her playing. He knew this music. He knew this soul. This is the lesson here. In a world full of noise, true artistry will always cut through. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. Your passion, your talent, that is your truth. And it cannot be denied. As Maya finished the final powerful chords, the room was silent for a beat. And then a single voice broke the stillness. It was Dr. Reed. His voice thick with emotion cut through the silence. "My goodness," he said, his eyes fixed on Maya. You play like Sarah Jenkins." Maya looked up, her heart pounding. She had just found a guardian in the most unexpected of places, a man who saw her for who she truly was. But the biggest revelation of the night was still to come. Because what none of them knew, not Charlotte, not Dr. Reed, not even Maya herself, was that this entire event wasn't a coincidence. It was an elaborate stage for a truth so shocking it would change everything. They say the greatest art comes from pain. But what they don't tell you is how close that pain comes to destroying you. For Maya, the music wasn't just in her fingers. It was etched into the very fabric of her life. You saw her play, but you didn't see the path that brought her to that moment. When her grandmother Sarah Jenkins passed away, Maya lost more than a family member. She lost her home. Sarah had lost her career decades ago, a brilliant Juilliard-trained pianist who was told time and time again that her talent wasn't enough to overcome the color of her skin. In a world that only saw her race, her music was invisible. She never became famous, but she became something far more important: a teacher, a mentor, and a beacon of hope for her granddaughter. After Sarah's passing, Maya and her mother lost everything. They moved from one temporary shelter to the next, a nomadic life of uncertainty and fear. You can imagine the heartbreak. A child of 14 with the soul of a composer and the hands of a pianist, suddenly reduced to counting her blessings by the meals she was lucky enough to get. She had no piano to practice on, but her grandmother's words were a constant melody in her mind. "Your music lives in you, Maya, not in a building, not in a fancy instrument. They can take away everything, but they can never take your truth." And that's the core of this story, isn't it? The brutal contrast. While Maya was learning to survive, to keep the music alive in her heart, without a single key to touch, a woman named Charlotte Vance was born with every advantage. She attended the most elite conservatories, had the best teachers money could buy, and lived in a world where opportunities were served to her on a silver platter. She never had to fight for her place. She never had to prove her worth. This is a mistake a lot of us make. We look at people who seem to have everything, and we think their success is a given. We look at people who have nothing and we think they have nothing to offer. But Charlotte never understood that talent and dignity aren't things you can inherit. They are things you earn. What Charlotte didn't know as she watched Maya play that night was that she wasn't just seeing a girl with a gift. She was seeing a legacy, a second chance at a victory that was stolen decades ago. But here's the twist. This was never a test of Maya's talent. It was a test of Charlotte's character. And what no one in that room knew, not a single person, was that this entire night, the gala, the challenge, the music, it was all a part of an elaborate, breathtaking plan. A plan orchestrated by the very girl they tried to humiliate. Remember when I said this wasn't just a simple story? This is where the plot twists so hard it'll make your head spin. What if I told you that Maya wasn't a random kid who just happened to walk into that gala? What if I told you that the whole night, the humiliation, the challenge, the performance, was all a part of a meticulously planned operation? This wasn't a lucky break. It was a setup. Unbeknownst to anyone in that room, the event was the stage for a social experiment, the grand finale of a documentary titled The Unseen Symphony. For months, A small, dedicated film crew led by a director who believed in Maya's cause had been scouting locations and testing a theory. Their hypothesis was simple and devastatingly true. The people who preach about helping the less fortunate are often the first to look down on them when they aren't on a polished stage. Every moment was choreographed. The camera hidden in a potted plant, the microphone disguised as a lapel pin. Even Dr. Harrison Reed's presence wasn't a coincidence. He wasn't just an admirer of Maya's grandmother. He was a key collaborator on the documentary tasked with being the catalyst for the public revelation. He knew exactly who Maya was, and his reaction was a genuine mix of awe and strategic satisfaction. The goal wasn't to get a meal. The goal was to prove a point. And the point was, this prejudice is a disease that can infect even the most charitable of hearts. The video footage wasn't just of Maya's performance. It was of Charlotte's condescending remarks, the subtle sneers of the guests, and the quiet, almost invisible way a young girl was treated as a spectacle, not a person. The greatest part of this plan: it wasn't born of revenge. It was born of love and a belief that the truth, when presented properly, can change hearts and minds. It's a powerful lesson, isn't it? To take your most painful moments and use them as a tool for change. Maya took her humiliation and turned it into a weapon against hypocrisy. She used her vulnerability to expose the weakness in others. She didn't just survive. She orchestrated a moment of public accountability. What Charlotte Vance and everyone else in that room didn't understand was that they weren't the audience. They were the exhibit. And soon the whole world would get to watch. And so the documentary, The Unseen Symphony, was released to the world. It didn't just go viral. It became a cultural phenomenon. It wasn't a flashy, explosive video, but a quiet, powerful one. It showed a microcosm of society's prejudice playing out in real time in a room full of people who thought they were immune to it. The aftermath was swift and uncompromising. The Gilded Lily, once a symbol of opulence, was now a monument to hypocrisy. Its reputation was in tatters, and many of its biggest donors pulled their support. But the most striking consequence fell on Charlotte Vance. The public humiliation was a fate worse than any financial loss. She lost her standing, her social circle, and the very moral superiority she had so smugly built her life on. She became a pariah, a living testament to the idea that money can't buy you dignity. But this isn't a story about revenge. It's a story about legacy. Maya Jenkins didn't just become a viral sensation. She became a voice. The scholarships and opportunities that came her way she didn't keep for herself. She used them to create the Sarah Jenkins Legacy Fund, a foundation dedicated to providing music education and instruments to underprivileged children. She became an ambassador of hope, proving that true excellence is a gift meant to be shared. And that's the most beautiful part of this story. While Charlotte was left with nothing but her bitter pride, Maya, who started with nothing, ended up with everything that truly mattered: a voice, a purpose, and the power to change lives. She showed us that the best revenge isn't to tear someone down, but to build something so extraordinary that their prejudice becomes irrelevant. This story is a powerful reminder that there is an unseen symphony inside all of us, a unique melody born of our struggles, our triumphs, and our truth. Don't let anyone tell you that you are not enough. Your story is your power, and your truth is your greatest gift. If Maya's journey from being an outsider to an icon of change resonated with you, and if you believe that true greatness can come from the most unexpected places, then you're in the right spot. Don't just listen to stories of inspiration, become a part of them. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Join our community where we celebrate resilience, amplify unheard voices, and find the extraordinary in the everyday. And hey, if you have a story of your own, or if this episode reminded you of someone, share it in the comments below. We'd love to hear how you've turned your challenges into your own unseen symphony. Thanks for watching, and remember, The most powerful music is the one that's played from the heart.